Welcome to Introduction to Heredity. I recommend that you either stop the video as we go along and take the notes, or print out the notes that I've also attached in the file. The first thing I wanted to talk about is basically the definition of heredity. And heredity means the passing of physical, mental, or behavioral characteristics from one generation to the other. This is why people might say to you, oh, you remind me of your Uncle Ned, or you have your mother's eyes. It's because you have characteristics that are passed down from one generation to the next. There is some confusion between the terms genetics and heredity, and many people use them synonymously, meaning they use them interchangeably. They are actually slightly different in the scientific world. Genetics is the mechanics of how characteristics are passed on, meaning your DNA and protein synthesis and how all of that works. We've studied that in a previous unit. To get into the vocabulary, there's something called alleles, A-L-L-E-L-E-S. It's symbolized by two letters. They're either lowercase or uppercase, and they symbolize one or more form of a gene. Basically, one allele comes from the father and one allele comes from the mother. There's a couple of different types of alleles. There's actually three forms. There's something called dominant alleles. Dominant alleles are represented by capital letters like big B, big A, big R, big T. We tend to use letters that have a difference between their uppercase and lowercase counterparts. For example, a big O and a little o don't really work well because it's hard to tell the difference between the two. In this scenario, we're using a big B, and again, one allele came from the female or mother, and the other allele came from the father or the male. Since they are both the same letters, we call them homozygous, because homo means same. Zygous reminds you of zygote, meaning fertilized egg, and they're both dominant because they're both capital letters. The next term I want to refer to is recessive alleles. Recessive means lowercase. They're recessed, meaning they are lesser. So, for example, in this scenario, we have little b. So one of those alleles, again, came from the female, and the other allele came from the male or father. These are called homozygous recessive because they are both lowercase. Okay, so we're going to do an example. This is called complete dominance, meaning if we have a trait that has big B in it, it will overshadow the lowercase b. That means complete dominance. This is completely dominant over the lowercase counterpart. So big B means brown eyes, little b equals blue eyes. The trait that we're examining is something called eye color. So in this example, we have big B, and that equals brown colored eyes. We have a new term that we're adding, and it's called heterozygous. Hetero means different. So big B, little b also means brown eyes because, again, this is in complete dominance. The big B overpowers the little b. And finally, we have homozygous recessive, little b. This individual would have blue eyes. The last two terms I want to share with you are genotype. Think of gene or genes, okay? And these are the letters. For example, big B stands for brown. So those are the genes or the alleles behind it. And the last one is called phenotype. I try to remember the pH in phenotype reminds me of the pH in physical appearance. This is what this organism looks like. So this organism is brown in color. Phenotype, what it looks like. So that is the difference between heredity, genetics, and an introduction to alleles.